Okay, we're going to tie the Arkansas bead head. This is a fly that was made popular by the late Dale Fulton, who was a lodge proprietor and a guide on the White River in Arkansas. Dale originally tied this pattern using a straight eye hook with a bead, and he pulled the marabou back over the fly using the streamer technique on the old bullet head. We're going to tie this in a 1/32 ounce jig hook, which makes it a variant of the original pattern. I'm tying it in a 1/32 because I've been fishing a lot of tailwater, and they've been running quite a bit of water. It's a nice shad pattern when the shad are coming through the dam. You can tie it in 1/80th, you can tie it in 1/64th, you can tie it any number of sizes that you like. For thread, I'm going to be using some red. We'll finish it off with red, which will simulate the gills of the fly. Start the thread behind the bead, or behind the jig head, and we'll lay a base of thread down the shank to the traditional point on the shank above the barb. Okay, to give a little sparkle, make a little attraction, I'm going to be using some crystal flash and pearl. A couple strands here that I'm going to bend over a few times. Double it. Okay, we'll tie it in here over the barb using a pinch wrap. Secure it. Then I'm going to pull it back over and double it up. Okay, we'll trim off just a little bit here. We'll actually cut it to size later as we need to. Okay, for the body, I'm going to be using some sparkle braid pearl. And I'm going to run my thread up to about 1/8 an inch or so behind the jig head. Leave a little gap. I'm going to tie my marabou in there, and this body then will serve as a dam to keep the marabou from sliding down the hook shank. Okay, we'll form our body. Okay, I'm going to bring my thread back to right at the base. So if I can, I want to keep this braid from going too far next to the jig head, leaving that gap. Okay, clip it off. Looking at a couple of rafts to secure it. And I'm going to throw in a 1/2 hitch. Okay. Since this is a jig, it will ride upside down in the water. So first I'm going to be putting on the belly of the fly, and we're going to be using some white marabou to do that. This happens to be woolly booger marabou, which is fine. Let's get a nice clump here. Okay, I'll fan it forward. I've clipped off some of the excess. Now, there's two philosophies. I can cut this so the body is just about 1.5 lengths, the length of the shank plus about 1/2 the shank sticking out behind the bend. I can do that, or I can make it a little longer and pinch it off when I get finished, giving it just a little bit fuller body. I'm going to clean out all the fuzz and fluff underneath to keep the let the marabou stick to the shank or tie the shank a little better and remove all this bulk from there. Okay, I'm going to let it run a little bit longer because I'm going to pinch this off. So I'm going to lay my marabou over the shank and kind of pull it down the sides. Trying to get it to around each, about 3/4 of the way around the shank. Okay, we got it tied off. Put a couple more wraps in there to secure it. Okay, then I'm going to turn the fly over in the vise. I'm going to be putting on the back. And for the back of the fly, I'm going to be using some gray. This is pearl gray marabou. This is a little bit lighter than normal marabou. It does give it a nice contrast to the white. Pull off a couple of nice big hunks. Here again, I'm going to trim it just a little bit. Make it a little easier to work with. And I'm going to pinch this, but yet I want to measure it just a little bit so I can clean out the fluff in this marabou before I tie it down. We'll cut it off even. Here again, we'll try to line this down a little bit around the shank so it bleeds in with the white marabou. And we'll do the same on the other side. Okay, I like just a little bit more of the gray marabou. Give it just a little bit fuller look. Okay, then we'll tie this off and make our red gill. Wet this a little bit to get all the fibers out of my way. Okay, we'll half hitch. I'm going to add just a little bit of super glue to my thread. And half hitch again. Okay, now we're ready to pinch our marabou, get the lengths that we want. I'm just going to pinch off some of these ends. I'm going to pinch this rather than cut so we maintain that natural look. Okay, let's turn it over to the vise and see if we can't pinch off some of the belly. And the belly can be just a little bit shorter or the same length as the back. Okay, it looks like our crystal flash is of a pretty decent length. Clip it off just a little bit. Make sure we don't have any stragglers falling anywhere. Okay, there we have the Arkansas bead head variant.